I want to be clear on this. I do my best to call it like I see it, meaning if I come out to start the show with a critical ear towards Carolina and then the next segment I'm respecting Duke, it's not because of Carolina and Duke. Want to get ahead of that. It's because that's what I say when I see the games. And I'm actually more cautious to do what I'm about to do because of the optics of the rivalry. Right, so I actually went out, watched the games on Saturday, like many do, and then guess what? I rewatched them this morning, or at least the condensed games this morning, because I wanted to make sure I saw what I saw, and I'm going to stick with it. I respect the heck out of the way Duke went down swinging against Florida State. I respect the heck about how they fired every punch they had in their arsenal. They did everything they possibly could, and it didn't work out. The cards were stacked against them. Here's Mike Elko, their head coach, on the loss.
At the end of the day, in those types of games and those types of atmospheres, we've got to be more efficient in the throw game. We've got to be able to execute better. We can't complete 8 passes and try to win a game on the road like that. And we've got to finish better in the fourth quarter. Our execution on defense in the fourth quarter was really, really poor. And so, it got away at the end. And so now we got to regroup. We got a really talented Louisville team coming in next week. And it's going to be a huge challenge for us. And
all true. You can't complete 8 passes. 7 of 16, 69 yards, 1 interception for Riley Leonard. He gets hurt. Henry Beelan comes in 1 of 6 for 7 yards. But here's the thing, okay? Duke was ahead 20-17 with the ball in the third quarter on the other side of halftime when Riley Leonard had to leave the game after re-aggravating his ankle injury. Florida State is really gosh darn good. They right now, with UNC's loss, they are the flagship carrier of all of the hopes and dreams of the ACC, making it to or getting crazy and winning a national championship. Florida State is really good. Duke had them ahead. Duke was ahead. Duke was in the lead, 20-17 in the third quarter with a quarterback that was obviously hobbled and lost his magic due to it, and they couldn't complete a pass with any kind of consistency. Duke knew they weren't going to win without every bit of guile and wit and veteran ability to make something out of nothing they possibly could. You know I'm good for a movie reference when Graham is producing the show. Graham, have you seen Too Fast, Too Furious?
I have. There's
a scene where Paul Walker and Tyrese, their characters, are getting ready to illegal. The whole thing's about illegal street racing. They're getting ready to race to, gangsters for pink slips, right? Meaning they're racing and whoever wins gets the cars back. And right before the race, okay, you don't have to know the whole plot. It's I don't know where it ranks in the Fast and the Furious movies, but you don't have to know the whole plot. But what you know is this. There's a moment right before the race where the two good guys are whispering to each other, and they know the two bad guys in the movie have better cars, right? And they simply look at each other and say, there's no way we're going to beat these guys straight up. So then they discuss, the veteran driving tactics that might be able to win them the race, right? Save the NOS, spray it on the back, blah, 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 play a little chicken, whatever it is. That felt like Duke. It felt like Elko and Riley Leonard got together before the game and said, hey, listen, coach, I don't have the juice in my ankle. It's not better, right? It was hurt against Notre Dame. We luckily were able to ride the defense against NC State. You're going to need me against Florida State, and I don't have the juice. So then Elko looked at him back and said, all right, here's the thing. We're not going to beat these guys straight up. We're going to need a little defensive touchdown. We're going to need you to be as confident and as leader-y as you possibly can. I don't know if leader-y is a word, but you need to be as leadership-y as you possibly can be, and we need to try to ride this one out somehow. They had to play Riley Leonard because they needed the magic. He didn't have it. But somehow they leaned on the defense and had the lead. And then Riley Leonard gets hurt. And from that point on, the whatever energy they did have, you could feel it just kind of get sucked away. When they went to Henry Beelan, and this is not a disrespect on Henry Beelan, he's just not the guy that captivated the world earlier this season that was supposed to be this, conquering hero returning. There was this feeling with Riley Leonard, even with the hurt ankle, that, hey, he may have only thrown for less than 70 yards, but if we need a drive with the game on the line, he's got it somewhere deep in his gut, his intestinal fortitude. And they just haven't seen that yet from Beelan to have that same faith. Here's Mike Elko on the decision not to bring in Riley Leonard, who some reported was pleading his case to get back in the game.
Yeah, I mean, he wanted to come back in. He was begging me on the sideline to come back in. I didn't feel comfortable with where he was health-wise to bring him back, and so we didn't do it.
They fired all of their weaponry. Came up short because Florida State is pretty darn good. But make no mistake about it, Florida State had to work for it. Florida State had to work for it. David Hale writes about the ACC and college sports for ESPN. He put out this statistic. The Blue Devils defense on throws of 20-plus yards downfield this season. They've allowed just 2 completions on 31 attempts for 52 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. Good for best in the country. You want to hear something even crazier? Last year is when Duke started this turnaround, right? Last year is when Mike Elko took over. They won 9 games, and they started becoming the belle of the ball. Last year, Duke allowed 30 completions of 20-plus yards. 30. And everyone was impressed. This year so far, they've allowed 2 of 31 completions of 20-plus yards. 29 incompletions. They made Florida State work for it. Now, I'm not a moral victories person, so I'm not sitting here saying Duke somehow won. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, they're better off with the loss. I'm sitting here saying I respect the heck out of the way they went down swinging. Right? This is the equivalent of, leaving the game with no timeouts in your pocket, blood, sweat, and tears out there. They should sleep fine on Saturday night. Right? No regrets. And do you know what else it shows me? The way they handled that game, the way they put Riley Leonard out there, because they could have, it's obvious he wasn't 100% at the beginning of the game, and they could have held him back and protected maybe an 8-win season. They were going for an ACC championship game, right? They were all in, and if it costs them an 8-win season and makes it a 7-win season, if it costs them a 9-win season and makes it an 8-win season, they were comfortable with that because they wanted to go for the ACC championship game. And I can't emphasize this enough. They were ahead 20-17 in the third quarter when Riley Leonard got hurt. Right? So the final score being 38-20 comes with context. Comes with a little bit of explanation needed.